Keith, congratulations on taking this step, putting your name forward to have your members of your community judge you. I want to thank all of you for being out tonight and to be part of what is the beginning of a great process for your community, for our province. I want to acknowledge Paula, who was here, how much I enjoyed campaigning with her in the last provincial campaign, and how proud I was to have her as part of our Liberal team. Paula, it is great to see you. I also want to acknowledge Robbie, who was here. Robbie, I don't know if you remember, 1999 election turned out not the way either one of us had wanted it to turn out, but you were so gracious to me. Came down to my riding of Annapolis and supported me in Jubilee Park, if you remember, on a beautiful July day. And I've always appreciated that, appreciated your friendship, and always admired, quite frankly, your ability not only as an educator, but as a provincial politician. And we are fortunate that you're part of the Liberal family, so it's great to see you. You know, I've done a few of these in the last few weeks. I was nominated recently in the riding of Annapolis, and I can't tell you how humbling it was to have so many of my neighbors and some of my family there to be part of that process, but to begin for us the movement towards this campaign and towards an election. I know Keith would feel that same feeling here tonight, having all of you out in support of him, in support of his journey towards what is the process of election. He's made the first step, which is putting his name forward and putting him out in front of you. But he can't do this alone. This will require a team, and you're going to have to be part of that. We require you to be working with Keith in your communities, to be knocking on your doors, convincing your friends and families that he's the right person, that we're the right team to lead this province and move us in a different direction. I want you to be able to convince your neighbors and friends and families, quite frankly, that it's time to put Nova Scotia first. That it's time that we start looking to ourselves to solve some of the challenges that face our province, and there are many. Economically, we've been the worst performing economy, quite frankly, for a number of decades. Under all governments of political stripes, we can proudly say now that the Democratic Party is part of that as well. But you know what? We've looked for solutions oftentimes outside of our own communities and outside of our own province. We have a willingness to believe, quite frankly, that someone else is better at fixing our problems than ourselves. You've seen this government write large checks, corporations to come in, great economic opportunity, only at the end of the day, after the check's been cashed, to hand out layoff slips to hard-working Nova Scotians. Because they've solely looked at the bottom line. They've looked at what does this mean at the end of the year, what will it mean when I pay my taxes, how much money can I hand over to the shareholders, what will it mean to my family corporation. Instead of looking and betting on Nova Scotia entrepreneurs, instead of recognizing the solution to our economic challenges, are in this room looking at me, and have been in every room I've been across this province looking right back at me. The small business owners in Nova Scotia, many of whom are hungry, quite frankly, not for a government to write them a check, but for a government to say thank you to them, for believing in their communities, for believing in themselves, for going to their own lending institution, putting their mortgage on the line, putting their future economic hopes of their family on the line. What they want from their government is one who believes in them and recognizes that our economic challenges can be solved with them. Many of you may not know this. I know Eric Smith Wood, who's sitting in the front row, that I ran a small business prior to being elected into the Nova Scotia legislature. And like many small business owners, when I looked across the shop floor, or the boardroom table, or the barn floor, I did not see an employee. I saw a Sunday school teacher, the hockey coach of my children, our soccer coach. I saw someone who believed in a community that I believed in, and they had the same views and values of how we were going to move forward. I didn't see someone who was going to make that I was going to make my bottom line better by laying them off. I saw someone that I was going to invest in tough economic times, because I knew my success and the success of our community depended on us getting this right. Me as an employer, them as an employee, to be prepared to take advantage of the opportunities that exist at every downturn. I did what every Nova Scotia entrepreneur does. He believes and she believes in their employees, and they invest in them. And they don't look beyond their own communities or businesses to have someone else solve their problems. They work together with their employees to build the kind of community that we want for our children and the kind of province that we believe we can have. I want to lead a government that bets on Nova Scotians, that puts Nova Scotians first. And I believe our economic challenges can be solved with Nova Scotia small business owners. I also believe, as Keith had mentioned, the best investment any government can make, any government, in tough economic times, is in public education. Any economist will tell you, in tough economic times, invest in education. Invest in the next generation of young Nova Scotians, the next generation of doctors, nurses, teachers, small business owners. Give them the skills that we require to prepare them for an ever-changing economy, an ever-changing province, and an ever-changing world. Give them the chance to seize an opportunity that will be before them. I've made a commitment on behalf of our party. I want to invest in public education. I want to reinvest the money that has been cut out of public education with a focus on literacy and numeracy and creative thinking, giving our children the opportunity to be able to communicate with one another, to be able to communicate with us, to understand what's in front of them, to also be able to think for themselves. But with that comes some demands. Demands on us as parents, community. Social grading should be a thing of the past in Nova Scotia. Mediocrity should not be accepted at anywhere, including in public education. But that requires us as parents, believing in our children, but believing in hard-working teachers who stand in front of our students every day. It's a resource of men and women who became to the teaching profession because they wanted what was best for our children as well. They need to be supported. We need to support them to make sure that when our children are reaching and striving, they're reaching and striving for the top, not for the middle. If we make those kinds of investments, I believe we can solve our own challenges. I believe we can put Nova Scotia first and move our province forward. The Bay of Fundy being next door, there's been an awful lot of talk about whether or not we're going to be able to harness the Bay of Fundy for energy. I'll make this commitment to you: if we can't do it, our children will. Because that's the way it will work. If we believe in them and we invest in them. You look at this town, Acadia University. Governments have looked at the universities as a liability on the balance sheet instead of understanding the true asset they are to our province. Recognizing there are over 6,000 foreign students that come to Nova Scotia for one reason alone, for post-secondary education. 13,000 other young Nova Scotia sons and daughters, Canadian sons and daughters, come to this province for one thing alone: post-secondary education. That's 20,000 young people that arrive to this province every year for post-secondary education. That's not counting our own children. That's not a liability. That's an asset that we need to capitalize on, recognizing that we can use that university not only to educate our children, we can use it as an immigration tool, and we can use it as a tool to build an economy around. Keith mentioned the wine industry, research and development that has taken place to allow the entrepreneurs to grow a vibrant wine industry here in the Annapolis Valley, one that continues to grow. That was supported by research and development here at the university, at the research station. We, for generations, have been known around the world as a province, the apple industry. Think about the recent orchard revitalization program that took place here. That was through research and development, understanding what we had, what we could do to move it forward. Many of you may it's been referred to as the Honeycrisp program. It's transformed the apple industry in our province. It's actually put money in the pockets of farmers. Understanding our traditional industry is important, but they have to change. They know that. We need to understand that. And we need to link the assets that we have as a province that set us apart. Understand they're not liabilities, they're opportunities.